your take on how Mr. Fallon, from your state, I believe, handled Mr. Roe today. That got a little fiery, but I'm sorry, President Trump almost died because of inept agents running the Secret Service. I'm not going to throw the guys on the ground of the bus because Trump always says they've got his back, his body team is great, but obviously the upper echelon has been screwing the pooch with his protection services.
Well, first of all, Dan, thanks for having me on. It's good to be here and good to see you again. You're exactly right. That was a fiery but mostly peaceful committee hearing there. I think Pat Fallon, who borders my district here just north of Dallas, is a hero here. You know, this was such an abject failure of the Secret Service to keep President Trump safe. You know, I think that whenever the left gets in power, they like to have plausible deniability about what they're doing. They're very rarely straightforward about what they're doing. And I think that you could see that with the Secret Service protection that President Trump had. You know, they knew that there was a threat. They still didn't address it adequately, intentionally, I think, knowing that if something did happen, they would have at least enough deniability to say we tried to keep President Trump safe, knowing that they didn't try hard enough. And what Pat Fallon is doing is simply trying to hold them accountable. You know, there's a real serious problem here whenever you look at the response that Congressman Fallon got from the head of the Secret Service, that kind of outburst, that outlash that he had there. And it's because they don't want to be held accountable. We have so many administrative agencies, including the Secret Service, who really seem to exist for their own sake. You could hear him saying, you know, you can't ask me about what I was doing at that 9/11 memorial because I'm a public servant, as if that means that he's above accountability. I think it's great that Pat Fallon was holding his feet to the fire and making him answer for what happened.
Yeah, but I just wonder how this looks and feels, especially to younger voters, since that's kind of how you won and a lot of younger people won. I'm hearing and I'm seeing on social media, people are pretty pissed because it's another example of rules for thee and not for me.
Well, that's exactly right. You know, you can talk a lot about, you know, Biden said he wasn't going to pardon his son over and over and over again, and then he lied about it. And that's, of course, true. But politicians lie all the time, unfortunately. So people are used to that, particularly from Democrats. You know, what's particularly offensive about this, though, I think, is that Joe Biden and the Democrats have been running on attacking President Trump for being what they say against democratic norms or trying to tear down the institution of the presidency. It's all not true, but that's what they're saying about President Trump. And then Joe Biden turns around and pardons his own son, something that is not only not democratic, but is antithetical to the rule of law, and so flagrantly so on its face that it's really enraging. You know, it's offensive to see a president do that.
We are sending a MAGA mandate to Washington, D.C., right? We want a better economy. We want the border locked down. We want the woke DEI nonsense in our military and schools and our corporations to stop. Right? We want our freedoms and liberties back when it comes to Second Amendment, free speech, freedom of press. We want the censorship to stop, and we're hoping that the MAGA movement gets us there. So, sir, as you head into the 119th Congress, and you're one of the youngest guys out there, elected by a lot of new young voters who came right instead of left, what's going to be your top 3 things that you're going to be really pushing for? And then I want to get your take on why you think so many younger voters did switch.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the exciting thing about coming in right now, as you mentioned earlier, President Trump got us a mandate. And we have to be really clear, this is President Trump's mandate, not the House's mandate. This is not the Senate's mandate. This is President Trump's mandate, and that is what we're all on board for. I think the Republican Party is particularly unified right now to execute on that mandate. And number one there is the border. You know, President Trump was at the forefront back in 2015 of saying we've got to build a border wall. Now he's on the forefront of saying we've got to deport the illegal aliens that Joe Biden brought into this country in an attempt flagrantly to import voters. So the border security, deporting illegal aliens is going to be at the top of the priority. After that, we're going to look at we've got to bring inflation down. You know, my constituents can feel it every time they go to the grocery store that prices are going higher and higher and higher. And it's because of the reckless spending under Joe Biden and the Democrats. We've got to bring that under control.